Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk a little bit about Memphis and the investigation that has started there. And we'll run through what these types of investigations really do, what the possible outcomes are, what the resolutions are, the different types of ending that these investigations typically have, and what they mean, and just kind of run through it all. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, DOJ announced a civil rights investigation into Memphis PD. Okay, this is separate from a federal criminal civil rights investigation that started shortly after Mr. Nichols' death. This is something else. This is called a pattern or practice investigation, generally. So, what is this? This is department-wide. And it looks like, based on the announcement, that they're going to be kind of heavily focused on allegations of the department engaging in unlawful discrimination and Fourth Amendment violations. That doesn't mean that that's all they're going to look at, but it does appear early on that is going to be a heavy focus. If you're wondering what prompted all of this, there will be a couple of videos down below for context. So, during these investigations, the teams show up. Normally, they talk to a whole bunch of people in the community. They look over officer training records. They look over how the training is conducted. They look at the policies, whether the policies are adhered to. They look at the day-to-day activities of officers and kind of sample it. And they're looking for patterns that are problems, that are issues. Now, at the end of this, what normally happens is a giant public report. If a report is issued, that means they found something. Sometimes it's just a letter. If it's just a letter, it means that they didn't find anything. Early indications are they feel like they're going to be writing a report on this one. Once the report is written, DOJ can give them a technical assistance letter, which is basically advisory. This means there are problems, but they're not huge. Then there is an option for a memo or an agreement that is something that's enforceable by the courts, but it doesn't require constant supervision from DOJ. And then there's a consent decree. That basically means that for a period of time, sometimes a lengthy period of time, the Department of Justice basically sets up shop in the PD. I mean, it's not quite that dramatic, but I mean, that's the end result of it. And the department is required to make certain changes. Now, all of this can, in some ways, if they don't adhere to what they're supposed to, it ends up being litigated in court. Generally speaking, when consent decrees are entered against departments, they do clean up. Sometimes it's just a little bit. Sometimes it's a big turnaround. I'm focusing on that one just because, based on the inciting incident here and a very light look into things, I feel like that's probably where this is headed. It certainly seems on the surface that Memphis PD has some real issues beyond the obvious one. So the Department of Justice is moving forward with that. That was announced. It certainly appears like some of the people in Memphis are unhappy that they were not given an opportunity to try to say, oh, it's not that bad, or explain their side, or perhaps enter into some negotiation over it. There have been a couple of statements from people in government in Memphis that have indicated their displeasure with this. It's worth noting that most times DOJ actually does allow them to talk first. The fact that they didn't, maybe they just didn't have time for it this time. But my gut tells me that there was absolutely nothing that could be said that would change the mind of the civil rights people there at DOJ on this one. I feel like there's going to be a lot of stories coming out of this. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.